A good way to evaluate delicious recipes is if they're remembered years later with fondness. That is a good recipe, which is why we are doing artichoke chicken today. The first time I tasted this, it was 2007, and I thought, this dish is perfection. Bonnie?
So at that time, a lot of the local restaurants were starting to experiment with an artichoke spinach dip, and one of my daughters said, well, why don't we go try it? So we went to the restaurant and we tried it. It was delicious. And she said, Mom, do you think you could put something like that on chicken? And I thought, well, maybe. And I said, but I don't know what's in it. And she said, well, write what you think is in it on this napkin. And so I wrote a few things down, and then I did what she said. I put it all together and topped the chicken, and then I needed to go on a trip, so I couldn't bake it. So I gave my husband and my daughter directions on how to bake it while I was out of town, and they called and reported that it was really good. So I was very glad and surprised and relieved. So the first thing we do is trim the chicken, and Chuck is going to do that.
All right. Who likes to trim chicken? Well, I end up with that job a lot. But if you're careful and you wear gloves, it does help a lot. It's easier to clean up. So here's what I'm doing. We've got a bunch of chicken breasts, you can see, and they're big. And you want them to be about ½ inch thick. So I've trimmed up a few already and gotten them to about that thickness. This way they cook more evenly and they don't take as long to cook. And we'll get into that a little later. So as far as the trimming, I usually just take off any big chunks of fat. Now these actually dissolve pretty well, so you don't need to really worry about some of these. But you want to get out I think it's the tendons or something. I don't remember what it's called. I'm not a professional at trimming chicken, by the way, just so all proper disclaimers here. But this is the way we do it, and we like it, and it really comes out good. Yeah, sometimes right around in here you get that little tendon, and that's not one. But if you have a little knobby thing that you don't want to run into, or have a guest run into, this is the time to trim that out. Okay, now for cutting this in half, there's a neat trick that I just learned actually, using a little plate, and this plate is a depth about the thickness that I want one of the pieces to be, and then the other will come out about right. So push that over, and then I use it as a guide for the blade. No, don't do that. For the blade here, and I can cut through it. It doesn't have to cut all the way through, as you'll see. Now it did, well, this is the worst of the ones that I did here. So, but anyway, you get the idea. It didn't cut all the way through, so I'll go ahead and trim that. This got a lot thinner than it was supposed to because I wasn't using that as a guide properly. So to make up for any mistakes like that, you want to get this thinner. You can kind of, anyway, you're probably familiar with this technique of smashing it up and pushing it down, and they all turned out fine except this one. But anyway, you get the idea, and
on to step 2.
And now on to step 2.
Okay, so next for the artichoke spinach chicken, that is a tongue twister, we will assemble the topping that goes on the chicken. And what I have here is 1 3/4 cup of softened cream cheese. That's a pretty bit soft there. Make sure it's softened enough to stir.
Did you warm it up in the microwave?
Yes, I did warm mine up. You could leave it out on the counter, but it works pretty well. To make it go faster, I cut it in cubes, and then I just do it like 30 seconds at a time, and then it doesn't cook or anything or get brown. Okay, so then the next thing we'll do is sour cream. So I'm using a third cup cookie scoop, and I'll do 3 of those because I need to have one.
So for the 1 cup,
right,
you'll do 3 1/3 scoops.
3 1/3 scoops. So there's 1 and 2. So that makes it pretty fast to get out of there. And 3, and then for the 3/4 cup, it's 2 of those. Right?
No,
Yep.
3/4. Is it
No.
3/4 or half?
No, half.
Oh, it is 3/4.
Oh,
Okay, so
told
you
you
need
wrong.
Show me half.
3 scoops of the quarter.
I did tell you that.
3 scoops of the quarter cup
3
size
cups,
scoop.
okay.
Between those 2 scoops, you scooped out 1 3/4 cups of sour cream with very little mess.
Thank you.
You can do almost any combination with 1/3 of a cup and 1/4.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. To
So
make
then
the
we-
full cup, the 1/3, and the 1/4.
Get that all mixed in. Let's see. Okay, the next thing we're going to stir in here is the spinach. Now, when I first did this recipe, I knew I needed chopped spinach, and I didn't really want to chop fresh spinach. But they sold in the freezer a box of chopped spinach, so I used that, and then you drain it, but you have to cook it a little bit, and then you can drain it with anything, but I did it mostly just by pushing it down in the sink.
Okay. So why do you have to cook it?
Because I had to cook this because we bought frozen spinach that
So more to warm it up.
had a lot of ice in
okay.
it.
All right.
I had, yeah. So it was like, it doesn't really look really cooked, but just enough to get all the ice off. 2 or 3 minutes maybe. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay. So you want to get that all stirred in. Okay, thanks. Okay. Okay. You could give me a different spoon.
Like this kind.
Yeah, that works better for this.
Where's your pan?
Yeah.
She'll have one later. Are you done with this?
Yes, I'm done. I think yeah, this one. At first it was 5, but all that sour cream.
It looks good already.
Yeah.
Actually, it looked good when it was just cream cheese and sour cream.
This is the part that you want to don't have any lumps of sour cream or cream cheese.
It would be
Stirred.
terrible to have a lump of cream cheese or sour cream.
Okay. So now, that's probably fine. Now we're going to put in, this has, I don't know why, but when I first tasted the recipe, I kept tasting all these things, so there's quite a few things in here. There is kosher salt and black pepper. And
How much of each?
maybe you could be stirring that while
Yeah.
I'm adding these in.
Oh.
The kosher salt and black pepper, there is a half a teaspoon of black pepper and a 3/4 teaspoon of kosher salt.
Maybe something else.
Okay. Let me get this out of the way. And then we have 1 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. And 1 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder.
Bunny, is this the kosher salt?
No, I already put that in. This is just sprinkle it when it's ready. Okay, and then we have, where's the lemon juice? Oh, then we have 5 teaspoons of lemon juice. You can use fresh if you have it, but I've used the bottled before.
This is fresh.
Yes, this is the fresh lemon. And then, it seems really strange, but a half a teaspoon of Tabasco sauce.
Oh. You could taste that Tabasco.
It gives a little zip, huh?
And then after all that, when that's, you stir in 1.5 cups of mozzarella cheese.
It's actually easier to stir now that you've got some of the
Okay, yeah, the lemon juice.
lemon juice.
When you're back to the cream cheese, the recipe here says 1 3/4 cup. How is that in equivalent to ounces? Because they're calibrated in 8-ounce or 4-ounce packages or bigger. So how many ounces is 1 3/4
Well, in that
cup?
big block of cream cheese, I followed the 1 cup.
Yes.
And then I almost 1 cup. I mean, well,
Okay.
a little bit less than 2 cups.
So it would be, if you got 2 8-ounce packages of cream cheese, you just cut about an inch off the one and use all the rest of it.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't hurt to put more or less, but that's what I did.
Okay.
Okay, so now I have the way to buy artichoke hearts.
Just one question here. Okay. So if this works out well just to do this in a bowl, stirring it, but if you were doing it like for a big group, could you just put it in your mixing bowl?
In a mixer, yeah.
Or would it,
I would
stir it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You could do that. You probably would do that without the spinach.
Yeah, I was
and
wondering
then fold
if
in the spinach.
With the cheese, maybe fold in the cheese too?
Probably fold in both those. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good question. I believe I did that.
Oh, did you? I mean, this is fine, but if you had a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so here we have 3 different ways to buy artichokes, and I buy it in the can, but you need to buy it with water, not oil, because there are marinated artichoke hearts. That's not what you want. So I buy this. It's a 14-ounce can of quartered artichoke hearts, and I just chop them up a little bit from there. And this is a nice big bottle of them, and these are whole.
So the bottle came from Sam's Club.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to drain.
So you got the ones that are already quartered. If you get the whole ones, do you quarter them?
Yes. Okay. You still would.
These are already quartered.
These are quartered, but if they look big, then I'm going to cut them up a little bit more. Yeah. And this would be the last thing that you
put in here.
Yeah.
And how
Your
much?
mouth is watering and the chicken's
It's only
still
one
raw.
can?
Just
for
one
this?
can. Yeah, that you see, it's going to go really far. But see, some of them are kind of big.
Hold it up so they can see a big one.
Yeah,
Just one.
right here. That doesn't look like a quarter to me. There's this one.
A knife.
Okay, yes, please. And so I just kind of want to make them a little bit smaller because when you stir them, they're going to kind of fall apart a little bit.
Anyway.
But then that's kind of good because you'll get more.
And you want it in every.
Yeah, you want it in every bite. So I just kind of.
So we have whoever to thank that invented artichoke dip.
Yeah.
However, you've adapted it to use on top of the
Yes,
chicken.
yeah, I have. And if you don't want to do it on chicken, it makes a great dip for a party. Okay, and I'll just kind of sprinkle those in
So
there.
you made your own dip, huh?
Yeah. And so if you don't want to do a whole lot of it, maybe you only want to do 4 pieces of chicken, well then you
No,
do some.
put them all in.
Oh.
Oh, she's saying
I gotta
chicken.
chop it first, yeah. No, I'm talking about if you don't want to make this over chicken, but you only want to do a few pieces of chicken, you could freeze this whole thing and take it out later.
Oh.
It freezes very well.
Maybe portions freeze.
Yeah, I'm
so,
thinking
yeah.
just about fillet shape,
Yes.
smushed between parchment or a plastic film.
Okay, yeah, these are pretty big. Cut those up somewhat. Okay, so while Joanne's stirring that, I will get my chicken over here. So what I do first with the chicken is I put pepper over it, and a little flavor, and then some kosher salt.
Bonnie, the chicken looks pretty dry. Did you pat it dry with towels?
No, I did not. I think it.
Okay,
Just
just curious, so
yeah.
it's just been dry. So it's not necessary for it to be any kind of moisture.
No, because this will
Cover it
bake
all.
right down into
Yeah.
it, yeah. So what we're going to do is get the cookie scoop. I put a generous amount. As you can see, this will cover a lot of pieces of chicken, is also depending on the size.
So this is a quarter cup, right?
And since these pieces are a little bit longer, I'll probably put a little bit more over that side because I'm going to flatten it down. Anyway,
About how thick will the layer of artichoke yumminess?
it'll be pretty.
About how thick are you going?
I would say I'm going to try to bake like a 1/2 inch.
So you're probably putting about a third of a cup on
Yeah,
there
probably.
with a little bit.
That would be more like the other cookie
Yeah,
scoop.
yeah, that'd be.
Okay. So then I just kind of wish that I probably need a little bit more.
Oh, really?
Right.
Oh.
Because that's not really.
No wonder
1/2
that's
inch,
so
but-
memorable.
I think I'll put a
So
little
be
more.
generous.
Yeah, be generous with it. Okay, that's more like a 1/2 inch.
Yeah.
Okay, then the very last thing that you do is sprinkle it with even more mozzarella on the top, and then that will get all melty and even a little bit browned.
We're getting hungry.
You put it in a 350-degree oven, covered, and then uncover it for another 15 to 20 minutes, and that should be done. And you should measure chicken with a thermometer, and it should be register 165.
So it's covered for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then
You cover it with foil or parchment paper?
I think, well,
Okay.
yeah, just a sheet.